This episode is brought to you by members of the You Run Podcast Network. Dewey Pod Monster, Movies 4 Days, Pop Culture Reflections, Voices from the Mausoleum, You Gonna Eat That Crust, Video Tasties, The Ghoulish Gallery, The Girl and the Gay Podcast, The Horror Friendly Podcast, and The Aardvark and the Magic Moshi Do Red Dwarf. All available at yourunpodcast.com. Hello and welcome back to another edition of the You Run Podcast True Crime. My name is Scott.
I'm Heather. That was super confused for a minute because I was like, why is my screen not coming back on? I was like, can you hear me? So stupid. Anyways, whatever.
It's been ages since we've recorded. It feels like, because we were going to record this last weekend.
Last weekend.
You got sick. Are you all recovered now?
I'm fine. It's just when you live in this shitty town, this state, the pollen is bad, and then you have the weather change. It'll be 38 degrees one day Fahrenheit for you Americans, and then all of a sudden it's 72, and I'm telling you, it's like every year like clockwork. Like, I don't really feel bad. I never really felt that bad. I was just like constantly stopped up and cough. It was the coughing because I have the post-nasal drip or whatever that shit is. So it's just like a tickle constantly. But I'm good. I don't care now. This is why I'm going to move one day because I hate this state.
We bring you 2 episodes a month covering the world of murder, mayhem, the macabre, and covering cases that you select us to talk about. If you want to get involved in future episodes, go and follow us. It's at You Run Podcast on every single social media going. You can also send us an email, yourunpodcast@gmail.com, or record us an audio DM wherever social media will allow you. If there's a microphone button, you can do it. If you want to go and follow Heather all on her own, you can do that. She is Wednesday Wine and Horror on Instagram.
It's me.
That's right. It is you. Like I said, we release 2 episodes a month, one on the 1st of the month, which is the main case, and the second on the 15th of the month, which is our extended cut, where we add more to the case. We give you places you can go and get movies and documentaries and all that kind of stuff if you want to really beef up on the case. Anyway, today is the 1st of the month, so it's a new case. I had just about forgiven everyone for not picking the Tiger King. The Tiger King got to the final, and I was like, we get to talk about Joe Exotic for 2 episodes, and it didn't happen.
I didn't get to wear my shirt. I had a specific shirt, and it literally looked like something Joe would have. Like, he had it. I think it might have been his shirt. I don't know. I thrifted it.
Joe Exotic will be polled again in the hope that one day we get to discuss the Tiger King.
You know why they didn't pick it is because in most people's eyes, it's not so much like true crime, because I think it's more of a joke. Like, people find it like it's hilarious. It's like Carol Baskin, like, but it's still true crime. Like, it's still something, a murder happened, but he's insane.
He is absolutely insane. And the thing, if we ever did get that case, there's so many clips of him. Like, there's recordings available of him calling from prison since the show ended. There's so much stuff that's available since that show finished. And so much more story we could share with people. Well, maybe one day. I'll keep my fingers crossed.
We'll see. Yeah.
But this is the You Run podcast, and you pick the cases, and we just do as we're told. This case lacks an actual murder, which is bizarre for us. Instead has an attempted murder. In this episode, we're going to discuss graphic violence, mental health issues, social media, and an urban legend, because today we are covering the Slenderman stabbing.
What's the address of your emergency?
Waukesha County, Lenny. I'm transferring over a caller on Big Bend. At the dead end, just south of Rivera, and he came upon a 12-year-old female. She appears to be stabbed.
She appears to be what?
Stabbed.
Stabbed?
Correct.
Okay.
Sir, you still there? Yes.
Hi, sir. So are you with this 12-year-old female?
Yeah, she says she's having trouble breathing. She said she was stabbed multiple times.
Are you going to put me in prison and I'm gonna rot and die?
Do you know where you are right now?
Not really. Please don't cut off my head.
Where do you think you are?
At a police station. You just wait
You know, your job as a mother is to protect your child from bad things happening to them, and yeah, I felt like I failed. How didn't I know? How didn't I know that she was sick?
Yeah.
Even though I know, looking back, that she was, she was doing well in school, and she had friends. She didn't have a lot of friends, but she always had a handful of close friends.
I just want to let Bella and her family know I'm sorry. I never meant this to happen. I hope that she's doing well.
One of the teens who stabbed a classmate in the so-called Slenderman case has been released from custody.
And restrictions on the outside. Those include a case manager to monitor medication for psychiatric care, monitored internet use, no social media, and no contact with the victim or her family. Waukesha police say Wire's movement will also be restricted by 24/7 GPS monitoring.
Are you going to put me in prison and I'm gonna rot and die? Please don't cut off my head.
I don't look.
Like it really like this case is really
I have
creepy.
chills.
Yeah.
Like you guys can't see on camera, but like when I tell you guys, like it's creepy because the little girl, the mom, is saying, I think it might be Morgan's mom.
It's
who
Morgan's
was
mom,
probably
yeah.
yes, because she was the main perpetrator in this case. So the fact is, like, she's like, I didn't know anything was wrong with my child, and okay, I get that, but that is fucking terrifying because could she have been displaying normal behavior in front of her mother and then doing all this wacky shit, behind her mom's back, so to speak?
Yeah.
It
Yeah,
makes you fucking terrified. Like, I love my kids. Like, I'm happy I have as many as I have, but those little bastards better not kill me.
Yeah, it
I ain't
genuinely
playing.
freaks you out. And like there
It
is
does.
available online, there is the full interview footage with Morgan. I've only shown a brief bit of it here.
It's a little. It's a like.
It's scary. Like
It's
when
scary
she
because she's like, "Don't cut my head off," and she's talking to Slenderman because that's what we're going to get into. But like, that is who she thought was basically controlling her? Question mark. A kind of.
yeah, and like when she's being actually interviewed by the police officer, it's not that
Yeah.
bad. But when she is on her own, honestly, that shit is like straight out of a horror
It's like
movie.
Hereditary.
It really is. It's terrifying.
It's like she's possessed. That's what it would remind you of because like she's dancing and kind of la la la. It's like that just shows you like she doesn't have the competence to, like it's this shit crazy. So extended cut is going to be wild because that's going to be juicy.
Yeah, no, this is going to be juicy on its
Yeah.
own. Now, we're going to give you a brief explanation of who Slenderman is if you don't know who that is, enough to put this case into context. And then when we do extended cut, we will give you a bit more of the lore and all the other stuff that surrounds Slenderman. But for now, we're going to give you just a basic understanding because that's kind of all you need for us to get into the facts. So, Slenderman is a fictional online creation. He's a tall, pale man in a black suit, and he sometimes has tentacles that come out of his back. He targets children and young adults and either makes them go insane to commit terrible acts for him or kills them, is the gist of it. And that's kind of all you need to know. But the main bit you need to take from that is this is a fictional character that was created online. Doesn't exist.
Yeah, it doesn't. It's like Well, we don't want to get into it too much because we want to savor it and leave the the juicier bits for
Yeah.
extended cut. But I think it was like a creepy pasta, and that's where I'll leave it. I'll
Yeah.
leave it at that, and then we'll continue. But basically, yeah, it's like just like a not a goofy, but like this supposed to be scary
Yeah.
thing that people made up, which they made up all kinds of shit online.
Yeah.
Like,
He's no more real than Michael Myers.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. Michael Myers might be more real than he. I'm
Yeah.
just saying that's more plausible. That's more plausible.
Let's get into this because what happens is pretty bad. So on the 31st of May 2014, it's another recent one for us. We've done a couple of cases now that are
Yeah, not too
quite
long
relevant.
ago.
Yeah. Anissa Weir, Morgan Geyser, and Peyton Isabella, who were 13. Anissa was 13, and Morgan and Peyton were 12.
Yeah.
Went for a game of hide and seek in Davids Park, which is a wooded area near Waukesha, Wisconsin.
I think
it's
I don't.
Waukesha.
Yeah, I don't. We don't know Wisconsin.
No. Now, this was after a fun day, including they went to a roller rink, they had a slumber party before they were celebrating Morgan's 13th. I know Morgan's 12th birthday. She'd just turned 12, and like they decided to go and play hide and seek the following day after this sleepover. Now, at some point on their walk into the forest, things took an unexpected turn for Peyton as Morgan and Anissa attacked her for no reason.
Yeah.
They pinned her to the floor and began to stab her with a 5-inch long blade. They stabbed her 19 times, causing wounds to 2 major organs, missing an artery to the heart by only millimeters. They stabbed her in her arms and legs to stop her trying to move as well, which is that I think is probably just as like stabbing someone in the body, you're trying to kill them, but stabbing someone in the arm and the leg, that's
like extra. It's causing extra unneeded pain, I would say. Because I mean, like obviously, I'm pretty sure that if you were stabbed in the arm or the leg in the right spot, you could bleed to death. Obviously, so like you would still die. So it's almost like you're just. Why do we keep on? And why do they stab her so many times?
Yeah, it's horrific. After the attack, Morgan and Anissa told Peyton to stay on the ground and they would go and get help.
Yeah.
They had no intention of getting any help for her at all. And they began their hike to their secondary location, which we'll talk about in a bit. Like their secondary location is almost as batshit crazy as what they've just done.
Like y'all ain't getting there. Y'all ain't getting there. Let's go ahead and tell them, Scott. They wasn't no fucking way they were getting there anyway.
No, even the most experienced hikers with full packs of gear would not have made that trip. But we'll talk about that in a bit. Now, I can't imagine what was going through a 12-year-old Peyton's mind when she's been stabbed 19 times and she's in the middle of the woods. That must be
terrifying.
The scariest experience for like as an adult. That would terrify me.
Fuck
for a child, that must be. I can't even fathom how a child of that age could even process what they'd just gone through.
My thing is like them being in a forest by themselves and no adult supervision. Like, I get it, right? Like, I get that this isn't the fucking 80s and 90s where you can do batshit crazy, ride your bicycle, and you can't get a hold of anybody, right? Because they don't have a cell phone. This is different times we live in, 2014. Scary times. I think that's one of my things where I'm questioning kind of the parents, like,
parenting ability.
Yeah, like, why would you? I would never let my kids just like go strolling away. Like, okay, y'all can go to a forest. That's fine. No. Fuck no. No.
So we live right near a forest. We live near one of the largest national parks in the UK.
Yeah.
It wasn't until the two boys were like 15, 16 that I would let them go off into the woods.
That's a little different, and it depends on the child. If you know that they're responsible, obviously, like it's okay.
But at 13, children are not responsible. At 13, they're going to climb a tree, fall, and break their neck is the best case scenario. Or they're going to start a fire, or they're going to do some other dumb shit that they shouldn't be doing.
But your kids also had cell phones, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's different. I'm pretty sure they didn't,
No, they
like,
didn't.
back then. So it's a different situation, and also you, like, live by a forest, and it's just the setting, it's a lot of different stuff that makes it okay versus
Yeah.
this situation.
Um, Thankfully, Peyton was not a stupid girl. She was very switched on, and she knew
Mhm.
that these two were never coming back to help her. So she began her escape from the woods. She picked
Yeah.
herself up, and she pretty much dragged herself to a nearby road where she managed to flag down a man on a bike who called the police immediately.
That's
Um,
lucky. What do you
really
call
lucky.
that? What do you fucking call that?
A
Like,
miracle.
yes. Yes.
She was rushed to the local medical facility and went undergo surgery for repairs from the brutal attack. The surgeon who operated on her is quoted in saying it was the thickness of a human hair that made the difference between life and death in this attack.
That always makes my mind go bonkers because I'm like, that is so insane that you're a millimeter away from potentially dying. That you
Yeah,
can be in a horrific accident, but all it is how you were hit, what got hit, what this and that. And it's so crazy because you see people walking away from accidents that are horrific and they're like, I'm fine. And you're
yeah,
like, how?
yeah.
But she
They
was stabbed different than an accident, but still, I'm surprised they didn't just stab her in the chest, right? Like, or in the
well,
throat.
the thing is, they stabbed her they stabbed her in all the right
Well,
places where you would
yeah, in the
expect
chest. I'm
to
sorry, they
kill
did.
someone, but
Yeah,
they managed to they hit a couple of vital organs that needed to be repaired, but they missed the heart, and
yeah,
because of that,
the major.
she survived, which is it's incredible. I'm gonna say it
It
now. It's
really is.
incredible that
No,
she
it's
survived.
believe what you want to believe, but something higher was working on that because, like, that's fucking crazy. It's just a little crazy.
Mm. When Peyton come out of surgery, she wasn't able to fully communicate. She had a tube, and she was on a is it an intubation tube to help her breathe.
Yes. Yes.
So she communicated using a whiteboard,
Hmm.
and she was able to write who it was and what
What
happened to
happened?
give the
Yeah.
police enough that they could go and do something. Um, several months after the attack, or for several months after the attack, Peyton slept with her mum because she was so scared. And then after that, when she went back to her own room, she'd sleep with scissors just in case.
It's just the mental trauma that it what inflicted on that poor child. Like,
Yeah, I mean,
she lived, yeah, you lived, but like, it's the trauma, it's the mental stuff that you deal with after the fact, not the scars, not the healing, not the physical pain. It's the mental pain. She was only
yeah,
12 years old. I'm like, what the fuck?
yeah. We always talk about physical damage caused by murders, but we never really
Mm,
talk about the emotional effects of people who
yeah.
survived. And for this is for her that this is the case. It's
Yes.
the trauma that she went through. I mean,
Hmm.
lots of regular listeners know that my dad was killed in a stabbing when I was 13,
Yeah.
but his friend survived that attack. And I witnessed firsthand the type of trauma and devastation that he suffered. And like every time there was an
Hmm.
anniversary or every time he walked past the place where it happened, I mean, he had like years of therapy. He moved completely out of the area because he
Hmm.
couldn't cope with seeing it. And that's
Mm.
the reaction of a fully grown adult who can process their emotions and understands what's happened and has learnt to regulate how they behave. This is a girl who's she's at the age of hitting puberty and her hormones are raging, and then this happens.
Exactly. Like, her mind is still her brain is still growing. Her body's still growing. There's so much stuff. They don't have the ability to make those correct decisions and stuff. I mean, thank Jesus, God, whoever, right? That she knew I'm gonna crawl out of these woods. I'm gonna get myself to, because you would just think maybe another kid that age would lay there because they're scared to death. They would not know
Yeah,
what to do. So she
yeah,
had the will to live.
yeah. Or you'd get another kid who'd lay there and go, "I'll stay here because someone will
And wait
find
for
me."
them because they said they
Yeah,
were coming back, which
yeah.
they wouldn't, of course.
For those of you who are interested, we're going to give you an update on what Peyton's doing with her life now, in
Mhm,
extended cut, because
mhm.
what she's doing now is something that deserves part of its own episode and not the
Yes.
episode where we're discussing her horrible attack.
Yeah.
Let's get back to our two little runaways, Morgan and Anissa,
Mhm.
who left this poor girl to die in the forest.
Yeah.
After Peyton was discovered, it didn't take police long to locate these two kids and go looking for them. It took them even less time to actually find them. They're kids. They're not hardened criminals. They're not.
Yeah.
They're not on the lam. They have no idea what they're doing. They're just kids ambling away. It was 5
Yeah.
hours after the attack before they were caught. They were apprehended 5 miles away. The knife they used for the stabbing was in their bag. And they told officers they were on their way to Nicollet Forest, which is where Slenderman's alleged home is. And that is 200 miles away from their current location. They also packed, get this, they also packed a couple of energy bars because they knew it would be a long walk.
Energy bars, bitch. You better get the whole company's energy bars. Like,
200 miles, what's that, 10 days walking?
I mean, if you do 200 miles, let's just say you're driving roughly, it's about 2 hours ish. I'm gonna say ish, like depending on how fast you drive. But like we're talking about walking, so I don't even know, a week.
It's a long time. They weren't getting there that afternoon. Let's put it that way.
I can't believe I can't believe they were able to hike the 5 miles.
Yeah.
To get out of the I can't hike a mile. Y'all, I'm scared as fuck. Like, hiking ain't for me.
This is where all of the reasoning for their attack started to become apparent. The two were obsessed with the legend of Slenderman, something that Peyton was aware of. So Peyton knew they both obsessed over this character, and she'd actually tried to skip out on the birthday celebrations and the sleepover because it creeped her out a little bit. In an interview in 2019, she said that she didn't really feel happy being around them anymore, and it's something that she had brought up with her parents, but she felt guilty. It was Morgan's birthday, and they'd been friends since like little school. And she's like, well, that kind of, I have to go.
Yeah.
And we've all been there. I'm there like that with pretty much 90% of family functions. Oh fuck, I have to go.
Say less. No, I'm the same way. Like there'll be something going on and it's like, all right, we want everybody to show up, and I'm like, I'm sick. I can't go that day. But it's so bad because like I am close to some of my family, but I just don't want to go. 10 out of 10, I don't recommend.
The thing is, I think for us that is 100% an age thing. Like I've got my own little life and my own little bubble, and within that bubble, I control everything, and it's lovely, and everything runs clockwork, and it's smooth, and it's great. As soon as I leave the house, I then need to go, have the kids got all the stuff they need? Have I got juice for the kids? Have I got this?
Stressful.
And it's like, why would I put myself through that to go 3 miles down the road and see someone who has no kids who could just pop in and see me?
See, that's always been my thing too. I know. And it's like when we do, there's this thing, this is off subject, but so my sister's husband, my brother-in-law, is like, oh, we want to do these family dinners one Sunday a month. And I'm like, my throat's tightening because I'm already like, that's a lot. It's just one Sunday a month. But I'm like, what are you cooking? Because some shit I don't like.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's not like I don't love my sister. Like, it's not that really. I think you're right. It's like ever since my friend, whatever, unfriended me through text, I'm just like, it hasn't bothered me, Scott. So like, am I a sociopath? I don't know. Again, please put a poll out. Is Heather a sociopath? I've literally not thought about it until we brought up this conversation. I literally am like, I don't even fucking know who she is anymore. Like, I don't give a fuck. I'm still using her Hulu. She don't listen. She ain't gonna listen because she's a hater.
Let's get back to the case.
Yeah, sorry.
In the interrogation room,
Mhm.
Morgan showed absolutely no remorse for the killings
Mm-mm.
whatsoever. She danced and she sang, and she was just kind of like, "Yeah, we done it. Yeah, we done it. It's not a problem." Anissa seemed to be more sorry for what she'd done, but
Yeah.
again, didn't seem she wasn't cut up by it at all. Neither of the girls were, but they both insisted on one thing: they had to do it to appease Slenderman, because if they
Yeah.
didn't, Slenderman was going to hurt them or their families.
That's kind of the urban legend, myth,
Yeah,
whatever. The story of Slender Man is that he does make you go crazy or
yeah,
something. And we're
yeah,
going to save some of that for next time. But anyways, yeah, basically that's it. So they were quote unquote scared, let's say,
yeah.
of Slender
And
Man.
this is so if Slenderman was a real person and
Yeah.
he was influencing these kids to go and do these things, they would not be as guilty as they are now, because Slenderman is a
Yeah.
fictional character. This is like
Yeah.
saying the fucking Easter Bunny told me to do it and I'm scared of bunnies.
They have horror movies about the Easter Bunny, just FYI. And although Slender Man don't even have a damn face, he don't
No,
have a face. I'm
no.
married to Slender Man, just so you know. He's got a face though.
Um, before we get into the court case, because this is one of the rare occasions we're going to
Yeah.
talk about the court case, because we kind of need to, we're going to take a quick break.
Hey fam, Newman here from Movies for Days, your non-pretentious easy access movie chat podcast and weekly deep dive into any film from any genre, from any decade, with anybody's guess as to how we chose that movie that week. Proud member of the You Run Podcast Network. Check us out where all great podcasts can be heard, and on Twitter at Movies Days. Movies is spelled regular, Days is spelled with a Z.
So make sure you go and check out Movies 4 Days. Also head over to yourunpodcast.com. Check out all the other network members. We've just added 2 new members. So we've now got
Yeah.
the Girl and the Gay podcast and the Horror Friendly podcast are also part of our
Okay.
wonderful network as well. So we've got lots now.
Yeah. Very cool.
Let's talk about court case. This court case got a lot of media attention because
Yeah.
of the motives of this case.
Yes.
So there was a call for both of these to be trialed as adults. And I've got to ask you, where do you sit on kids being trialed as adults in the United States? Because it's not so much a thing here, but in the United States, it's like you can have a 12-year-old and
Yeah.
you can try them as an adult. And I don't know. What's your thoughts?
Again, you're coming at me with these double-edged sword questions. They're very hard to almost answer off the cuff. Whatever.
Yeah.
Like it's hard to answer it because you think about it. You're like, okay, so if you have 100 12-year-olds in a room, they're all going to be a little different. Maturity level wise, they're going to be different. But if we go through a scientific side of it and we're like, okay, well, a 12-year-old is still this and that. They haven't hit puberty or they are in puberty. There's some that start at 10 years old, right?
Yeah.
So it's about rationalization and it's about decision making. And the problem is that at age 12, I would go ahead and say almost all children cannot make a good decision when it comes to that. So these girls killing or almost killing Peyton, I don't know that I don't think I can agree with them they shouldn't have been tried as adults. The mental facility aspect of it makes more sense because they need to be evaluated. They need to see what's going on. Apparently we find out that there is some issues going on.
Yeah.
Trying a child for an adult crime or as an adult depends on the situation. It's a stipulation. If you had a 12-year-old that went and blew his mom or dad's brains out, that's going to be a little bit different than this case because even though they caused harm to Peyton, look at the circumstances. What was the other kid's reasoning? Was it just because he was like, there's been cases where kids are like, well, he wouldn't let me play the video game, so I murdered my whole fucking family. Now that motherfucker, like, come on.
Yeah.
He knew what he was doing. Now he was older than 12, but even 15, 16, 17. The kids' brains are not developed yet. So it's a look in the U.S. We got fucked up kind of laws, and everything is per state. So per state, you're going to deal with something different every time. And I just, in good conscience, I don't know if I could have looked at those little girls. I mean, what they did is horrible. I don't know that I could have been like, they need to be tried as adults. That's just my opinion.
Yeah,
I don't
I'm
know.
kind of with you. The judge said they did need to be tried as adults, and he let that go straight away. He's like, "Yep, no
Yeah.
argument." And I think with the world's media watching, that was kind of the choice he had to make. I don't think if he'd have gone the other
Possibly.
way, the whole world would have gone, "Whoa, hold on a minute,
Mm,
you can't do that."
yeah.
Now, Morgan was charged and convicted of attempted first-degree murder and sentenced to a maximum of 40 years.
Yeah.
Morgan did cut a plea agreement, though, so she didn't actually go to full
Mhm.
trial. So
Yeah.
she basically pled guilty to everything and agreed to go under assessment by mental health professionals to basically that was going to be her punishment. So she was sentenced to 40 years in a
Mhm.
mental health facility where she can get the help that she needs. Um, she did originally plead guilty to the crimes and wanted to go
Yeah.
to trial. And it was after a psychological assessment, she was actually found not guilty of these crimes by way of mental
Yeah.
disease and defect.
Yeah.
Um, she's diagnosed with schizophrenia, and it's a condition that was also suffered by her father. So
It is
I don't.
genetic.
It is genetic. I didn't know if it was. I knew you would know
I'm
that.
pretty positive that it's genetic.
Yeah.
So I don't think that somebody can like I wouldn't think that it's not like your kid one day is just going to get schizophrenia. Like
No.
they're going to show signs of it at an early age. Fact check me, guys. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I apologize. But from what I can recall from my memory, I feel like stuff like that, especially like since her father had it or has
Yeah.
it. I mean, mental illness does get passed on. It's a mental illness.
Yeah, and also even if it doesn't get fully passed on, there's an element there of learnt behavior. If your dad's
For
schizophrenic, you'll get
sure.
those
Mhm.
behaviors naturally. Like I'll sit with my kids, and my kids will mirror what I'm doing in my
Yeah.
mannerisms because that's just what they see, and that's then how they behave.
It's nature versus nurture, and then your environment and things like that that take into account of all these children. How come one child can live in an abusive household and see things, but they grow up perfectly fine, but then the other sibling goes on a murder spree or becomes this or that or just
Yeah.
whatever. It's complicated. It
It
really
is.
is.
Anissa's situation was a bit different to Morgan's, and I was
Mhm.
surprised at just how different this was. So she was charged with attempted second-degree murder and
Mhm.
sentenced to 25 years to life with at least 3 years in locked confinement,
Mhm.
and in involuntary treatment at a psychiatric institute. So again, a hefty sentence for a young child.
Yeah.
This is where it starts to get interesting and honestly a little bit confusing. So
Okay.
she appealed her conviction, and in 2021, she's 19 at the time.
Yeah.
She stated that she was very sorry and deeply regretful for the agony and pain that she's caused. She
Yeah.
said she hates her actions from May 31st, but through countless hours of therapy, I no longer hate myself for them. And in September 2021, Anissa was released from prison or from the mental health facility
Yes. Yes.
with these following conditions. She'd remain on a 24-hour tag for the next 37 years. She'd report in weekly to mental health professionals to monitor her progress. She'd have no access to social media, and her internet usage would be monitored.
Yeah.
Do you think that she should be released? And all of that, like all of those things they're doing there, surely the cost is more than it would be to keep her where she
Yeah.
was, and she's no longer getting that continuous care. I don't get it.
Man, I feel like I'm back at school. Like you were throwing some hard questions at me. It's like math class all over again because I fucking
Sorry.
sucked at math. No, it becomes a moral opinion, I would say. I don't know if that's the right verbiage to use, but because you look at it on one hand where you're like, did Morgan influence Anissa In my opinion, yes, very much. It was Morgan's idea to do this versus Anissa being kind of a little tag along. She was a little follower. She just like, did we report if she actually did any of the actual stabbing, or was it just Morgan that stabbed?
No one really knows the full detail.
So we're just hearing that Morgan basically did most of the stabbing. So we don't know for sure if, okay, that's the thing. Anissa could have like knocked her down. We don't know for sure, I guess, that Anissa perpetrated any of the stabbing.
No,
doesn't make it okay either way.
No, we know she held her down.
That's what I'm saying. She's responsible. Now, them wanting to put her into a mental facility for that long, it's hard to know, because it's like, would she get better care to be safer to be released through there?
Yeah.
Maybe, but people can act one way and be another way.
Yeah, and they do. So,
I don't know Scott, I can't really answer it, to be honest with you. I don't even really know if I have an opinion on it, because that is so difficult to know. Is she sorry? She very well could be sorry. Or is she sorry because she wants to get out? But basically, even though she's getting out, she's still imprisoned. Like, she can't do shit, right? She can't do nothing anyway.
Yeah, which again is fine. She can't do anything. So in September of last year, following a further appeal, the GPS tag restriction was released. It also, the social media ban was lifted. She does still have to check in for regular mental health assessments, and her internet usage is still monitored. So, in essence, they kind of just like
they kind of slapped her on the booty cheek, just one booty cheek, and they were like, "There you go, you're fine, you're fine."
Yeah, they're like, you're going to have all these restrictions. They're going to be in place for 37 years, and then 2 years later, went, nah, it's all right. You get on with it.
This brings up the question of, is this a problem in the system, like in the law and everything, or is this a problem with mental health in the United States? It's a problem with mental health in the United States, because you got crazies walking, and excuse my language for saying that, but I mean, you got people walking around nuts on the butts, right? And it's like, people can't get access to mental health facilities. Like, if you really are like, I'm going to, like, suicide and things like that, like, why not offer these things for free for people? I don't know how the UK is, but in the United States, Scott, like, they don't give a fuck. They do not care. They'll be like, okay, are you sad? Here's a pill. And to me, that is not a solution. Like, yes, some people need to be medicated because it's neurological shit that goes on in their brain. They need the brain balanced, right?
Yeah.
But like, you can have, like, I've had postpartum depression, but like, I didn't need to be put in a mental facility, but they tried to shove a bunch of medicine down my throat. And I was like, that's not what I need.
Yeah. Yeah. And
it's a cry for help. It's just like, how serious are they taking it?
Yeah, and the thing is, like, mental health assistance, I know in the US is really strange because it's a paid service. And it's really tricky. And like, Anissa's not the only one appealing the court's decisions either. So in 2020, Morgan issued an appeal to be retrialed as a juvenile, stating that the decision to try her as an adult was unlawful. The appeal also says that the charge of attempted first degree murder needs to be dropped and reduced to second degree murder because the police didn't follow it by the book. They interviewed her. They interviewed her illegally prior to reading her Miranda rights.
So that's what she's saying, or that's what actually happened?
That's what I've watched the footage. They do interview her for a good 20 minutes
before they give her Miranda rights.
Yeah. So, and a lot of what she says in the early part of it is stuff they relied on in the court case.
So they took advantage of that because she was a child. They took advantage of being like, we know that you did this and we don't give a fuck. And there are crooked cops out there. That's what I'm saying. This whole world is a doo-doo ball. Like, it just happens.
Yeah, and they wouldn't there was no parents in there with her. There was no
And
legal
there should
aid
have
in there with
been. There
her.
should have been someone
Someone,
to
yeah,
yeah.
whether it's a court-appointed lawyer or whoever, there should be someone sat in there with those children. But it was one-on-one police officer and child for all of the interrogations.
I don't know about that. See, it's like when you go to the doctor, or at least here, when I go to the doctor and I have to go see the woman doctor, and if they're going to do a procedure or something to me, the nurse comes in too. It's not,
Yeah,
I'm not left in that room alone with the doctor, especially when it comes to women's health things below
yeah.
the belt. They don't, mm-mm. Even when I was pregnant with Campbell and I would go for my checkups, and there was always 2 or 3 people in the room.
Yeah, yeah,
So
it's
it doesn't make a lot of sense because it almost feels like were they that I don't know. Maybe he was just like, I'm just going to get this girl. I don't know.
no, and when you watch the interview footage, the policeman and there's a police lady as well, 2 detectives who are
Hmm.
interviewing these 2 girls, and they're really nice and they're really friendly, and at no point are they pushing them for information. The girls are giving it willingly, but
Well, yeah,
they just didn't do it by the book. But
but they have to say their Miranda rights. This isn't fucking 21 Jump Street, like you have the right to be an attorney. You do have the right to be an attorney.
yeah,
Okay,
um,
anyways, I'm just saying, they should have known. It doesn't matter if she was 12 or not. You still
yeah,
have to treat people the right way.
yeah, you do. I mean, this appeal was heard in the Supreme Court in early
Hmm.
2021, and it was
Yeah.
rejected. The
Yeah.
charges still
They're
stood.
gonna reject it, yeah.
Uh, in January of this year, petitions to the courts for her release have been put in again for
Mhm,
various different reasons. Um,
mhm.
this is going to be heard in April, so potentially there is a release of Morgan because she is getting a Supreme Court appearance where she will be able to put her appeal forward, and there's a chance that they may overturn her conviction and she may walk free. Um, so yeah, if that happens, we'll give you an update.
Yeah,
Maybe we could do an update episode, go back through all the cases we've done and see if
yeah.
there's been any updates and do a special
On
where we
some
just
There's not on Jack the Ripper.
no, and there's not on H.H. Holmes either.
So, I watched a little small documentary the other day that had him in it. It was like a true crime doc, and I was like, "Skip this boring ass shit." We know what happened. We don't know because they didn't know.
No,
Nobody knows.
no, and they still don't know, and they'll never know. So stop talking
I
about it.
mean,
Let's
probably
focus on it.
not.
um, this brings
Ah,
us to the last thing we need to really talk about, which is the use of internet, and it's
mhm.
the effect of internet on children and how as
Yes.
parents we should regulate it and monitor it. Now, I've got kids
Mm,
ranging from 6-year-old to 17,
yeah.
and their internet access permissions and the time they get on screen is very, very different. The
Mhm.
17-year-olds are both working part-time, attending college. I'll
Yes.
be honest, I don't really monitor what they do online because
Yeah.
I've raised them and I am aware that they have a good moral standing and I know that they're not doing dumb shit online.
And their interest. So that if there was a peculiar thing, you would say, okay, I'll keep an eye on him. Let's just make sure he's
Yeah,
not doing this or that. Easy
yeah.
peasy.
But my younger kids, I do restrict what they can see online. So
Yeah.
we've got parental controls in place.
Hmm.
We've got like device times, like they can only go on for a certain amount of time a day.
Yeah.
They don't sit
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
all day and all night. Um, and some people look at me like I'm a crazy parent when I tell them that. They're like, "Oh, my kid's on his phone all the time." I was like, "Do you know what he's looking at?" No. Like, do you have any parental restrictions on YouTube, to cut out swearing or anything like that? No.
Yeah.
All right. If they
No.
got access to Google, can they just go on Google and search whatever they want? Well, yeah. And I'm like, wow, no, just no.
I I don't agree with that either, Scott. I don't agree with those people. They need to stay out of your fucking beeswax. First off, that's my thing. It's not your child, so shut the fuck up. That's one on you. You're doing what you need to do. Yeah, a child should not be allowed to just be like, oh, I can do whatever I want, and you not even monitor it? Like, hell no, I'm nosy as fuck.
Yeah, I
Like,
am.
call me Pinocchio, bitch. I'm nosy. Like, I will be like, what y'all doing? I get right in their face. I don't give a fuck because I know that it's addicting. Okay. As
Yeah.
adults, we're 40 in our 40s. We know that being on our phone too much, like it's addictive. It happens.
Yeah. We'll sit there and doom
Especially
scroll.
for them.
Yeah.
Oh, I do that at 1 or 2 in the morning when I can't sleep, or if Campbell wakes me up or something, I have to put him back to sleep. Yeah, I'm bad about it. It'll be like 3:30. I'm like, oh my God, what's happened? But like, they're not allowed to get on the internet. They're not allowed to do any of that shit past like 8 o'clock.
No,
Because I'm like, turn
exactly.
this shit off or I'll blow this whole house up. Like, I'm crazy.
Yeah, and also like knowing like my younger kids watch YouTube and they've got certain YouTubers that they like watching, but what most of our like time that they're on devices, like my younger kids don't go and play in their room. Their room, they sleep in
They
their
just
rooms.
like, yeah, they hang out everywhere in the house but their room, probably.
Yeah, so they hang out like in the front room. We got a corner sofa, and they'll sit on there,
Yeah.
and they'll sit with their devices on, and they have headphones on. But they're kids; their headphones are loud. I can hear all the
Yeah.
shit
I
they're
understand.
watching.
I know. I have one that wears headphones too. I know. I'm like,
Yeah, so like I know what they're watching, but there's so
yeah.
many parents out there who have no idea what their kids are searching online. I mean, you will remember the
Yeah.
same as me, Yahoo chat rooms back
Yes,
in the
sir.
day.
AOL chat rooms, and it'd be
Yeah,
like ASL age sex location, please. You know, your trifling ass was lying when you were like 18 female, whatever. And it was like, bitch, you was like 11. Get the fuck out of here. And that could have been a 37-year-old man, or you don't even know who the fuck you talking to. Okay, like
no,
this
and
happened to you. You
and
don't even
that's
know.
and that's how it was when we were growing up. It wasn't monitored then, but it was
It
hard to
wasn't.
monitor it. But now it's easy to monitor it.
We
It's
were
a
different. We're a different breed, Scott. I'm
yeah.
telling you, we're millennials, right? That's what they consider us, millennials. I think. Are we
Uh,
millennials?
no, I think we're Zennials. We sit between two actual age
What the
groups.
fuck does that mean? I ain't older. No, I'm a millennial. Anyway, I ain't trying to get older, put no X in front of my shit. But what I'm saying is, like, then your parents, my mom especially, she worked all the time. We were always
Mhm.
left alone. And
Yeah,
then my stepdad, like, because they were divorced, so her boyfriend, whatever the fuck you call him, he was always working too. So guess what? I was the oldest. So guess who was in charge? Me,
yeah,
because I'm the oldest of the two other siblings.
yeah.
So guess
Same
what?
here.
There you go. Like, what was Heather doing? Chatting. What was my sister doing? Playing with fucking Barbies or some shit. And then my brother was like, I don't know, playing Ninja Turtles or some shit. I don't know. But that's the thing. You didn't hear about a bunch of children necessarily. I would say, like, all the murders stuff
No,
seemed to happen in the 2000s.
yeah, it is.
It's insane. I don't know.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think one of the things that really gets me about this case is it was premeditated. So
It was
Morgan,
100% premeditated.
so
Yes.
their initial plan was to actually kill Peyton that
Yeah.
night at the slumber
Mhm.
party. And it
Mhm.
was
Mhm.
Morgan who said, "No, we can't do
Mhm.
that because it will get my bedding covered in blood." That was the reasoning for going out into the woods to do it, because it was cleaner.
Well, let me ask this real quick, because it's not really off topic, but it kind of is. So they were having a slumber party. Now,
Yeah.
as a parent, and as I have a daughter that's 21 now, I never allowed, with the tight exception, my kids are not allowed to sleep over at people's homes. 150,000% they cannot. My daughter was allowed to at my sister's because of her like step cousin.
Yeah.
That's different. There was maybe one other friend that she was allowed to go to. That's because I knew her parents extremely well, and they were good people. Known them for years.
Yeah.
Other people, I said, look at my face. I said, that you ain't staying the fuck over there. If they want to spend the night, hang out, they can come to our home. And my boys have never, and me and Stephen both agree, you ain't staying the night over at nobody's house.
No, and we're the same as well. Unless we
Okay,
know,
I was wondering.
no, No, unless we know them well, because
Yeah,
we live in a scary world. And yes, you might know
you never
that they're
know.
going, yeah, I mean, if it's a people you've met at the school a couple of times, they might seem really
Yes.
nice. But do you know who else lives in their house? Does an uncle nip round? It's such a
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
and having a
I'm not.
girl, it was different for me because I mean, like having a teenage girl, and you don't have any teenage girls. So, like, and boys, it doesn't matter. That can happen to them too. It just seems to be more, obviously more cases of teenage girls. But no, I didn't care how pissed off she got. Now, my
Yeah,
mom, I could stay over at like one person's house. It was literally only one, maybe two girls that I stayed with, and it was because I had known them from the age of 6 years old up
yeah,
until junior high school. No, we don't play that shit. Homie, don't play that. Okay. I'll be like, mm-mm. They
yeah,
gonna try to no. I ain't trying to go to jail. So
yeah.
my thing is like my boys are not really into that. I don't know if your kids are ever even into that. Like they're just like, no,
No,
we'll
not
stay home.
really.
Like they don't want to go stay the night in nobody's fucking house, stinky ass house. No, they ain't
um,
clean. Mm-mm.
we're going to be back in 2 weeks' time to follow up on this case. We're going to give you a full
Mm-hmm.
rundown of the Slender Man legend, like how it came about, how it evolved, what
I
it
got some
is now.
stories too, Scott. I'll save them. I got some funny ass fucking stories from my son. Not anything bad. Don't worry, guys. Nothing bad. It's funny as fuck though. But we're gonna
Okay.
save
Okay.
them. Yeah.
We'll also give you an update on what Peyton's up to now, and the fallout that this caused with overall tighter controls on the internet for children.
Yeah.
Because this did have not just an impact to the US, this had a global impact on how companies like Google and things like that managed the ability of children to search
Yeah.
certain things. So this was a really impactful case.
But like
Um,
kids are fucking smart though.
yeah,
Did
they
I
are.
take that into consideration? Like they can get to places that anyway, we'll talk more about it next time. But like they're smart. They know.
They know more than I do. We'll also
Yes.
give you a list of movies, documentaries to catch up if you want to
Yes.
know lots about this
Yes.
case and Slenderman himself. But until then, Heather, take us away.
Let me go ahead and say this first of all. Y'all don't want to know shit about Slender Man because that shit is not scary. Okay. Ugh. Anyways, but in all seriousness, I think that the whole kind of thing with our episode is like Scott mentioned. It's like pay attention to your kids. A lot of
Yeah,
things are avoidable, I would say, to an extent. You can't help everything, but you can, like, if your child is reaching out to you, and children will reach out to you in different ways. Okay, they're not adults yet. Take the shit serious. Talk to
yeah,
your fucking kids. You opened your legs and had no problem having the baby. Like, talk to your children. Mental health is important.
yeah,
I mean, we need to keep these. This is our future generation. This is the people that are supposed to take care of us as we get older. So,
yeah.
with that being said, let's take care of ourselves, take care of our children. So you guys stay spooky, stay safe, and we'll see you next time. Bye. Look.
Bye.